It's me, Professor J, Mr. J, your math teacher, back with another lesson. I gotta just first turn this light off. Let's see, one click, nope, not there. One more, maybe, okay, there we go. All right. It's your teacher, Professor J. This is for the week of April 13th. We're gonna be working on 4.4a, adding and subtracting decimals this week. Today we're just going to be doing adding. Before I get to that though, as you can see, I got my goggles, I got my hard hat, I got my construction vest, got my journeyman pliers, and I even got my meter. Today, I'm dressed up as an electrician because this week, it's Spirit Week. So you guys need to check out the schedule. Miss Austin, I put the schedule on your, the schedule that we send you for your schoolwork, sent you the schedule for this as well to show you what day we're doing what activity, dressing up like what for Spirit Week. Yesterday was Move It Monday, so if you didn't get a chance to send a picture of us exercising or something like that, you can do that. But for the rest of the week, we have different things that you can dress up as. Send us your picture. We'll try to put them on the school's website or something like that. So if you want to do that or you just want to show us how goofy you are, you can send it to myself or your reading teacher. We're going to get to this in a minute, but we want to give a shout out. I dressed up as an electrician because I wanted to give a shout out to the essential workers out there that are going to work still, even in the midst of all this craziness. So shout out to you guys, essential workers, medical workers. If that's any of your parents, give them a big hug. Tell them you appreciate them. We all appreciate you. Now to switch veins, I got some electrician jokes. You knew I had to have these, right? So joke number one. What type of car does an electrician drive? I'll wait for it. Let you think about it. I know you're so smart. You're thinking of a great idea. What type of car does an electrician drive? It's easy. A Volkswagen. Duh. Okay, I got another one. Here it goes. So if I take a light bulb, right, I go plant it in the ground, will it grow to be a power plant? I don't know. I just want to see. All right. Okay. So today, it is the week of 4/13. Today is the 14th actually, but it's the week of 4/13. And we're going to be talking about 4.4a, which is adding and subtracting decimals, all right? And yes, I'm gonna do the whole thing with this hard hat on my head. So the first thing we wanna think about when we're adding and subtracting decimals are a couple things. You guys know we have 3 steps to do this. We'll just go through those steps. Step number 1, it's always gonna be the same, right? You always want to line up your decimal, okay? If you don't line up the decimal when you're getting ready to do adding and subtracting with decimal problems, then you have a real problem. Step 2 is you're gonna wanna put that decimal into we're just doing adding today, so we'll say put it into the sum, which is the answer you get when you do an addition problem. And then number 3, you just solve it just like normal, okay? So let's go ahead and go through a couple of examples. Let's say we have 3 4/10, and we want to add that to 2 5/10. Okay, we'll start with a simple one. Very easy. Step 1, I line it up. So I could take either of these since we're adding. Doesn't really matter which one you put on top. Then I'll get the next one. But I'm going to put the decimal first. Then I will fill in that number. I put my decimal, I do the ones place and forward, and then I do what's on the other side. That's how we do it every time. So I have a 2 here, and then I'll put that 5/10 there. They'll be stacked up right on top of each other. But before I start solving, I'm going to actually put this decimal into my sum. See, the decimal doesn't move. You guys know I say it would be like a cold June day in Death Valley when the snow doesn't fall. If before you move that decimal, right? Like you should never move the decimal when you're adding and subtracting whole numbers or decimal numbers. The decimal stays in the same place. The numbers have to be adjusted or moved in order to make sure those decimals line up. If you don't do that, your problem will be wrong. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. So we put this here. That was step number 2. Put the decimal in the sum, and then we just solve it just like normal. So I have 4 and 5. It's going to give me the 9. I have 3 and 2. That's going to give me the 5. 5 and, we always read the decimal as and, 5 and 9/10. Boom, problem solved. Let's go to another one. Let's say we have, let's give it a little different one. Let's say we have 3 and 8/100ths, and then we're gonna add it to 12 and 2/10. That's a good one, all right? So I can take these two numbers. It does not matter which one I add on top or the bottom because we're only adding. I can't stress that enough because in the next video, I'll do subtraction. It's gonna be a little different. But this one is only adding. So it does not matter which of these two goes first. In an adding problem, both of these are called add-ins, okay? It doesn't matter which one they are. They're both called the add-ins. You just put them together, and that's how you get your sum, which is your answer. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. We'll go ahead and add these two. But I told you I'm going to show you one that I do wrong. So let's say I have 3 and 8/100ths like this. And then I see, well, that was 1, 2, 3 digits. And this one's 1, 2, 3 digits. So let me just go ahead and line it up like this too. Okay? I'll put my decimal right over here. Get ready to add. Now I have written the correct numbers. But the problem is I did not write them in the correct place. If I want to check the place at any time, I can always make a place value chart here. So watch this. I just make my lines go straight down. I got the place value chart. We'll start with the one on top, so we'll put our decimal there. We have our ones place, tenths place, hundredths place here. The only problem is, while this first number is lined up correctly, the 3 is in the ones place, just like it was up here. The 0 is in the tenths place, and the 8 is in the hundredths place, just like with the original number. If I go down below here, this 1 is in the ones place. But in fact, we know that up here that the 1 was actually in the tens place because it was 12. That would make this number at the bottom incorrect, which would give you the incorrect sum. In order to solve that, what you want to do is you always, when you write your second number, you always write the decimal right below the first decimal that you wrote. And that way, when you get ready to put in the number, you start with the ones place. Oh, I have a 2 in the ones place. So I put my 2 here. What do I have in the tens place? Oh, we got to add 1. I have a 1 in that tens place. And then I can go and put my 2 in the tens place here. So now my numbers, for both of these numbers, have lined up correctly. Now that I have that, it would be very easy for me to add this together. Now here's another thing that you might run into. If you notice that there is no number here in the second add-in, but there is a number in the first add-in in our hundredths place. If I ever run into this problem here, there's 2 things I can do. Number 1, I can just leave it alone. Technically, I'm adding 8 plus nothing, which would still give me 8. There's no problem with that. Some people don't want to write anything there. But if you do want to write something there, you put a 0 here. Now, whenever Mr. Johnson adds a 0 that was not originally part of the problem, he draws a line through it. That's just so I can help remember that I put that 0 there. That 0 is just acting as what's called a placeholder. That's what 0 always does, but in this case it's particularly important because that helps keep everything lined up, nice and neat, and it makes the problem make a little more sense to me if I'm new to this. I have 8 plus the 0, that will give me 8, but wait, that is not following my steps. I cannot add this problem yet because step number 2 told me to put my decimal in the sum before I solve the problem. So I should take these decimals that are lined up and I should put that decimal in the sum first. Once that's done, now I can solve this problem just like it's any other addition problem. 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 2 is 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. And 1 plus nothing is 1. Problem solved. 15 and 28 hundredths. That is my sum. Okay guys, I'm going to add a couple more links to the subtraction video here. I'll add a link to the questions video if you need to ask me any questions about any of this. Make sure you guys are watching these videos. Make sure you're looking at the schedule and putting in your information to let me know that you saw the schedule. If you have any questions at all, please use that question link that's in the description below this. And send me your pictures, guys, if you dressed up for career day. Have a good one, guys. Bye.